On the streets of Yerevan on Thursday, Armenia's Prime Minister was defiant in the face of calls from the military for him to stand down. It's tense, but we all agree there should be no clashes, Nikol Pashinyan told his supporters. Pashinyan has been under pressure to resign after his country lost last year's war with Azerbaijan over the region of Nagorno-Karabakh.
What is happening now, the statement from the General Staff calling for my resignation, I consider it an attempt at a military coup. You know that I took all responsibility for what happened and tried to do everything to answer all the questions myself. Now we have come to a stage where we cannot avoid questions towards some of our high-level ranking military personnel.
More than 3,500 Armenian soldiers were killed in the 6-week conflict, a significant number for a country with a population of under 3 million. Pashinyan was forced to cede large swathes of territory around Nagorno-Karabakh that Armenia had controlled for almost 30 years since the end of the last war with Azerbaijan. That prompted weeks of protests led by the opposition. Pashinyan had pushed them from power in 2018 in what was called the Velvet Revolution after an attempt by the previous leader to stay in control beyond his term limit.
The Prime Minister and his government have diminished popularity, but the alternative, the discredited political opposition, has much less support. So in general, there's little alternative to Pashinyan or his government. But this is unprecedented in terms of a military threat to the government, much greater and more grave than anything the discredited and unpopular political opposition could mount.
What's not clear is whether the army is willing to use force to back its call for the Prime Minister to step down. Pashinyan says he'll announce a replacement for the head of the army in the coming days. The crisis, he says, will be resolved constitutionally. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera.
Let's get an update from our producer, Guram Vardanyan, who's joining us on the phone from Yerevan. Just tell us what you're seeing around you and what's happening on the ground, Guram.
Hello. The Pashinyan's rally just finished. He was only one who was speaking during this rally. And now people are marching in the streets of Yerevan. His supporters are marching. And he is leading the march with the heavy presence of the police, the security guys, but he is leading the march, and people are chanting, Nikol Prime Minister, Nikol Prime Minister. So right now we have one march happening in the streets of Yerevan, but I have to say the direction of this march is the opposite of the second square position. As you know, opposition had another rally in another square, but this Pashinyan's rally moving not towards the second square, but opposite side of this square. So they are marching. Pashinyan, during his speech, he was saying that all the people together with the opposition in the other square are his brothers and sisters. And so on. So he says everything is going to be peacefully, no clashes, but we will have to show our will to stay at the power, because he says, I was elected and you to decide what will happen with me.
What can you tell us about the presence of any security, Guram, and what is the mood like amongst the people and those protesters on the streets right now?
I see two different moods today. Like in the one square, I've seen opposition demanding resignation of Pashinyan, saying in the traitors. And in the second square, right now, I can see people who are supporting Pashinyan, or at least who say we are not want the others to come back to the power, the previous authority. So this is the first rally to support Pashinyan after the war. I can see people chanting. I can see people who are saying we will not give our power to the others. But the thing is, when Pashinyan he says, do you want me to start negotiations or consultations for tough elections, people are chanting, no, we need no tough elections. So possibly Pashinyan will not thinking right now about snap election even.
How much support would you say Pashinyan has right now in the country?
I hear very I can't hear. Can you repeat, sorry?
I'm asking about the support that the Prime Minister has in the country.
His main support are the people. His main support is his party, let me say, faction in the parliament, and he always rely on the people, and his only support his only support are people in the streets. So I think why he was doing this rally right now, he's doing this rally to feel the power of the people and to feel how much support he has from the people.
What about what the military is doing right now? Because we know that at least 40 high-ranking military officials have called for Pashinyan's resignation, Guram. So how significant would be the next steps for the military?
We have some development. As you know, in the morning, Pashinyan fired Chief of General Staff of the Army, Onik Gasparyan, but the President, who formally signed, or who, according to the Constitution, signed the decisions of Pashinyan, refused to sign the decision to fire Chief of Army General Staff. So today, during the rally, Pashinyan said, now I can say that the President has to sign this decision, or Onik Gasparyan, the Chief of General Staff have to resign by himself. So he says that's unacceptable that our army will mix with the politics and all the soldiers and officers to do their direct job to protect the borders of the country.
Okay, we'll leave it there. A little difficult to hear you right now, but thank you so much for that update, Guram, from the right in the center of Yerevan. Guram reporting on the Prime Minister marching with his supporters and his protesters in the capital. You can see in the live picture right now on our screen. Let's speak to Robin Forestier-Walker. Robin is joining us now from Tbilisi. So Robin, I'm not sure if you were able to hear what our producer had to say, but certainly the live picture speaks for itself, and the Prime Minister is out right now on the streets with his supporters and the protesters. Sounds like it could be a pretty tense situation. What do you think is going to happen next?
You know, Gegem was talking then about the fact that Mr. Pashinyan has been trying, well, has signed the dismissal of the head of the military, but the problem he now faces is a constitutional one, because the president has so far not put his signature on that dismissal. So directly in contradicting Mr. Pashinyan, which seems as if from the political side he is running out of allies, with the president presumably reluctant to go ahead with his orders, and the military reiterating their decision to call on him to resign, and also interestingly enough stating that their letter or their statement was not made without any outside interference. I think that's a nod to the suggestion that maybe Russia was somehow involved, or may have been putting pressure or finding a way to put pressure on Mr. Pashinyan through their contacts in the military. So yes, it's a very fragile, delicate situation for Pashinyan. At the same time, we have seen very large numbers, it appears, coming out onto the streets of the capital to Republic Square to show their support for him. And that means that there is still a lot more to play for. The question is whether we will see the military move physically into the capital. Mr. Pashinyan has called on the military, on the troops, to continue to protect the borders, and called for calm. So a lot can still happen in a few short hours, but he's always resorted to relying on the public, because the Armenian people have shown time and again that they still support this idea that Mr. Pashinyan brought to them, which is that they had the power to make changes in the country, and those were the changes that they wanted to see, which were important ones, political and economic reforms that they were hoping would bring an end to the corruption and the mismanagement that we saw in Armenia prior to Mr. Pashinyan coming to power. But the Karabakh war last year has really changed everything. Given how disastrous it was for Armenia, the humiliation, the loss of all of those territories that they held, and the huge human toll, the thousands of soldiers, the military personnel who died in that war, more than 3,500 Armenian personnel, and all of those families. Armenia is a small country, and everyone knows someone who lost a brother or a husband in that conflict, in that fighting.
Yeah, Robin, and the Prime Minister has also said that change of power can only happen via early or regular elections. So is that the direction Armenia is heading in? How likely is it that those elections do take place earlier than anticipated?
You know, when you listen to his speech, he was a little... he sort of seemed to be dodging the issue by saying, do we want snap elections? And the crowd saying no. But of course, to hold snap elections would be able for him, let's say, to firmly establish that he still has the popular support of Armenian voters. And yet, on the other hand, if he were to concede and call for snap elections, that would also be, if you like, a sign, perhaps as he sees it, of weakness. But he says he's open to the idea, and in that speech he talked about having political consultations to see whether there was a way forward. So it looks as if, given everything that's happening right now around him and the military getting involved, I think Mr. Pashinyan will be certainly perhaps more willing to find a solution to this crisis, to maybe give a little bit of ground.
Okay, Robin, thank you so much for giving us that update from Tbilisi.